Another thing that does come up very often, Father, and it does really interest people in the apostolic faith. And I mean, people, whether they be Eastern Orthodox, Catholic, Oriental Orthodox, would it be fair to say that Pope St. Leo and St. Cyril of Alexandria's Mariology and Christology were quite similar in many respects? Because I hear from people at times trying to say, well, Pope St. Leo was saying something completely different from St. Cyril. And then you have people saying, no, they were essentially saying the very same thing. What are your thoughts on that, Father?
I agree. I think they were essentially saying the same thing. And both of them have no hesitation about attributing Christ's human characteristics and human actions to the divine word as the subject of the real subject here. But that the unfortunate thing here really was that when Leo the Great, he wrote his tome, and that was thereafter was regarded as his sort of main Christological utterance. But he was reacting to, he misunderstood. You see, Eutyches had been condemned at Constantinople. And Leo understood Eutyches to be denying that Christ really had a human nature. And Leo was really rather taken aback by the fact that he wasn't condemned, in stronger and firmer language. And so he writes this tract that is, the whole emphasis is on saying that there's a distinct human nature in Christ that has its own, own operation. Each form, that's each nature, performs what is proper to it in communion with the other. Now, this was a media reaction in the East would say, "Oh, we'll accept it," that sort of brush it under the carpet. Really, we accept it, and then we can forget about it. But of course, the Romans weren't satisfied with that, and so it was read and had to be applauded at the Council of Chalcedon. And now the definition is quite carefully written. It makes distinction between the writings, the key writings of Cyril, not including the 12 chapters. They're deliberately not mentioned, but some of these, particularly Second Letter Nestorius, these teach the orthodoxy to the whole church. And then he goes on to say that Leo's tome is a good weapon against heresy. It doesn't praise Leo's tome for its positive teaching. But later, of course, when you get to the monothelitism, the great debate over whether Christ has two operations or one, or two wills or one will, very much adopted Leo's tome as the essential text. And in the definition of the of 681 of the Ecumenical Council, they assert that Leo's tome was absolutely canonized as the teaching of the church at the Council of Chalcedon, which is an overstatement. It wasn't quite. So you do nowadays meet some Orthodox who criticize Leo's tome. They say it's inadequate Christology, but it was canonized at an ecumenical council in 681. You can't. It isn't open to that sort of criticism. And of course, you can misread the statement. Each form performs what is proper to itself, as if they're two persons in Christ acting separately. But that's misunderstanding